So we got Brad Heath, founder of Double D Trailers. Brad, what's up?
Hey, good morning, Mark. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, excited to have you here. What you're doing is really interesting. You've been manufacturing horse trailers for 25 years, but all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you're like 3D printing, let's go. What was the impetus for you to try to just completely transform a system that was already working?
Sure. Yeah, I've been tracking 3D printing. The first one that I saw, I think, was back in 2017. A company, Ingersoll Machine, out of Rockport, Illinois, they 3D printed a boat, and it was about a $3 million piece of equipment. There's a YouTube video on that, so it was super awesome. And we checked into the technology at the time. I mean, when I saw the boat printed, I was like, man, that's pretty sweet. I bet we can do a horse trailer with that. But the technology and the cost, and there was a lot of variables that really didn't make sense at that time. Once the pandemic hit, coronavirus came, we in manufacturing began to face a tremendous amount of challenges, from extended lead times as far out as a year for someone to wait for product, supply chain issues that are unheard of and continue to plague us today. We're still struggling with supply chain issues. And now we have, there's a labor shortage. And so it's difficult to get qualified, skilled labor that can, craftsmen can build the trailers that we need. And just so the idea was, hey, I think we can solve some of these issues with 3D. And there are more technologies now. It's rapidly evolving. Lots of folks jumping into the industry. So we're able to get a lot of support now. And it just makes sense to, pursue that avenue for manufacturing.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I'm not in the manufacturing business, but I'm thinking about all the little pieces. Like, as someone who can sometimes struggle to build a Lego castle, I'm thinking about all these little tiny pieces, everything from the screws to the nuts, to the brackets, to this, to that. With 3D printing, you get none of that, right? It's all just one solid piece. Am I right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you nailed it. It's sort of like, the automobile manufacturers, they could build a vehicle at 99% completion, but they couldn't put the computer chip in it. So the thing had to sit. And that's sort of the way we were with horse trailers. We're waiting for a single or a few components to come in to complete the thing. With 3D, the idea or the vision that I have will be and is a monocoque design. So we'll do that in a one-piece structural print, and then the remaining components, such as the doors, the screws, the windows, the latches, the holders, all of those things, they'll be printed as well on a separate printer or something with a little more detail than what the larger ones are capable of doing. And then those items will be hand assembled. But when I met with the engineering guys, they're like, oh, so you just want to do a steel frame and, print the box and sit it on top and that. And I'm like, heck no, I don't want to buy a welder. Been there, done that. I don't want to have to hire a weld guy, a paint shop, a paint guy, do an OSHA regulation, order screws and fasteners and bolts and nuts and windows and just so many components that you have to build these things. And a lot of the components we're getting these days are subpar in comparison to what we were getting 4 and 5 years ago. So I told the guys, I said, we want to print everything in-house from the ground up. 99% of the trailer, don't want to have to order a bolt or a screw. I want the thing printed out of carbon fiber, and we'll use that as a mechanical fastener. The only thing that I will have to purchase, tires and wheels and axles, and of course, wiring for lights and electrical. Other than that, the goal is to print everything 3D.
Really interesting. So, and we're going to we have to walk through a video of one of these trailers getting printed in real time because it is amazing. We'll be sharing that here on the YouTube here in just a minute. And because I need you to walk me through it because it's amazing. But if I'm hearing you correctly, not only are you printing the main bracket, the main piece, but you're talking about also manufacturing and 3D printing all the smaller pieces in-house. So you don't have to wait, or you don't have to worry about if there's a problem, I don't know, overseas in China producing screws or bolts. You can do it all in-house. Seems like it makes logistics a lot more simple.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. And that's certainly the avenue that we're striving for. Even the windows, I told the guys, I said, hey, I'm not going to buy windows. These things are crappy. They break. There's a lot of downside to it. They're expensive. I want to print an unbreakable window. And hopefully it'll turn out better than the Tesla truck when Elon smacked the window and it broke. So we'll try to make ours so that it doesn't break on that first go round. And there's actually a material, it's a translucent material that, looks like that, but it's flexible and you can 3D print. So we're working with that right now and looking at it to be the possibility of the actual window. So you could walk up to it and smack the thing, and it's just going to like a sponge. It's just going to absorb that impact.
I'd imagine if there's a horse in there, that's a good thing too. You don't want a bunch of broken glass spraying all on your horse or something, right?
Yeah, it's all about, horse safety at the forefront, creating a design that's both safe for the horse and safe for the handler. We're known for that already in our designs. But, my goal from a durability standpoint, trailers today, they're manufactured like they were back in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. It's pretty boring as far as the lack of innovation that's been done in our industry, from body style to components. And yeah, we just look to solve that, to get not necessarily away from the aesthetics and things that make it pretty, but be able to maintain that and yet add durability to it. My goal is to design a trailer that it doesn't break, components don't break, and we don't have this upkeep and repair over the years of all the things that are currently, the windows, the seals, the gaskets, all of those things just deteriorate, and we won't have any of that in this print.
It strikes me that there's definitely a reduced amount of failure points, right? Logistics, manufacturing, there's so many points where things can break down. Everything from one of your team members, someone getting sick, to a strike in India, to I can't find my ratchet or whatever. It seems like there's so many failure points, and just having it all printed in-house just seems insane to me. And I also wonder why more manufacturers aren't doing this yet. Is there a massive upfront cost to actually buying a robotic arm and in the hardware to make this happen?
There is a significant investment to do that in the equipment. The initial system that we plan to implement will probably end up around $1.5 million for 2 robots that'll be able to print in tandem on a rail. We actually have a nice rendering that I can send to you that shows what the robots and the print and the factory layout would be. So that's pretty cool to look at. And I think we're about a year out on getting the robots now. So there is a wait for those as well.
Interesting. And, from a financial perspective, you're looking at 1.5 to actually get the robots done in-house, in the warehouse, starting them working. How quickly do you expect to recoup that expense?
Well, the luxury with equipment is financing is readily available. Banks love to loan money on cash flow projection and on tangible assets. And so if I go to the bank and say, hey, I want to build horse trailers in 3D and I need $1 million cash just to float the operation, they're like, I don't think so. But if we come back and say, hey, I have the operating capital ready, we have a backlog of orders and pre-orders that we've done. Here's the profitability. And, we can get a 10 or 15 year loan on equipment and be able to service that debt easily. And of course, hopefully pay it off much sooner. But that would be the goal out of the gate, to just preserve cash for operational research development, hiring the qualified team to do that, and folks that are a lot smarter than I am that can figure all this, 3D CAD system out and run the robots.
I'm reading this book, Blue Ocean Strategy, which is all about not necessarily producing the best product at the best price, but creating something completely different, creating a brand new space in the marketplace. And there's an example where a bus company in England just started using a different material. They started using fiberglass instead of steel to create buses.
Right.
And all of a sudden, they completely cornered the market. They were getting all these contracts. It was reducing fuel costs. They were able to fit more people on each bus. This kind of reminds me of that. This seems like a blue ocean approach to an industry that's already been, quote unquote, figured out.
That's right.
I'm kind of wondering, how are you using, like, is this impacting the way that you're marketing or selling your products, the way that you're positioning yourself in the market? Are you kind of flipping the way that Double D Trailers is positioned?
We hold patents on numerous safety aspects that clients all over the U.S. reach out to us for currently. I don't see 3D completely replacing our current build. It'll certainly be something that we work into, but my vision was to have a design that I think follows where we as a country are headed in automobile designs with the electric movement. Lots of different body styles, innovation there. And we wanted to produce a trailer that, goes along with that. It's sexy like some of the new vehicles are, has the aerodynamics. We have the weight savings because as electric vehicles continue to roll out, one thing about those is the tow ratings are much lower than what they are on the gas-powered engines. And so we have to innovate and develop products that folks will be able to go out and buy a new electric vehicle and pull a horse trailer with. You did nail it on the differentiation. So I see it as something that folks that have a conventional build trailer, they've had the thing for either 5 years or 10 or ever how long they've had it. They're ready to upgrade. They see this 3D, they see, all the bells and whistles and the smart technology that we will be implementing into that, the movement where hopefully we can solve some of the plastic issues that we're facing, with the waste, so we can kind of reutilize some of those things. And just a completely re-envisioning of manufacturing, marketing all the way around.
What do you mean by smart technology? Give me an example of how you're using smart technology to make the product better.
Yeah, so we'll end up with an IoT, Internet of Things device. I didn't know what IoT stood for until some smart person told me that. And I said, man, that's really slick. You can do that. So we put together a small team, did the R&D on it. We've sourced the components, and in simple terms, we'll create an app. The components inside of the trailer, for example, thermal imaging of the horse during transit, camera system so that you can monitor, a meter that will measure noise and vibration. You'll be able to control the lighting, the fans. You're driving down the road, the temperature reaches 83 degrees. The fans are set so that the auxiliary fans would kick on at 83 degrees. We can track, the miles on the trailers. There's just a lot of data that we can do and give that feedback to the user right on their smartphone. Currently, there's not anything that exists like that. So I plan to make this standard on this model that we're building. So it'll be very innovative, futuristic trailer with the latest gadgets and technologies that, I think folks will really appreciate.
I mean, it seems like a no-brainer. I'm curious. So does this, I assume this reduces the cost of manufacturing a trailer. Is that right?
We're at the beginning stage of this. Right now we're doing testing, tensile strength ratings, heat transfer, the effects of horse urine on particular types of plastics and polymers and how it affects carbon fiber, UV resistance. I don't want to put a product out and in 3 or 4 years, it's kind of, frozen up and starts to crack from UV. So still a considerable amount of research that we're doing up front to determine which material that we'll actually use. And then another consideration is the print time. These robots have the capability of printing, let's say 100 pounds of material per hour. And if this trailer weighs, 3,000 pounds of material, so you're looking at a roughly 30-hour print. If I stack 2 robots operating simultaneously or in tandem, complementing each other, I can do it in 15 hours. And so if you print it in 30 hours, it's one cost. If you can do it in 15 hours, it's another cost. And a lot of that is dependent upon the temperature of the material, the final build material that we use, and how fast. With 3D, it's basically like a tube of toothpaste. You're literally squirting one bead at a time, and the temperature determines how fast you can come back and print the next bead on top of one. So there is all of that is in consideration as well. And then the cost of the material, you can pay from around $4 a pound for material up to $15 a pound. So if it's a 3,000 pound trailer and it's $10 a pound, you got 30 grand in the material there. So a lot of variables that we are still working on. It's certainly not going to replace, you asked earlier, hey, why aren't more manufacturers doing this? And I think the majority of companies in the US today that build, at least in horse trailer industry, it's a very fragmented market, lots of players in there, and most are set up for mass production, just cranking the things out over and over, repetition, not nearly as much customization option. Whereas with the 3D, you'll be able to work with one of our designers. We can do all sorts. Pretty much if you can think it, we can print it. And that's just very, very attractive to me. So I can easily envision someone ordering a trailer and I'll have a camera set up right in the print bay and you can sit and watch the whole thing being built, right in front of you as it's constructed. So, and it'll run 24 hours a day. So I can go home and go to sleep and the things are still working. It's just mind boggling.
That sounds so freaking cool. And I want to share a video watching this robot in action because I think, and I want you can kind of give me a play by play because it's really fascinating. But what strikes me as you're trying to figure out some of these, we'll call them problems or logistical issues, manufacturing issues, the end result is you're going to be able to provide such a unique experience to the end user, to the purchaser, that you could probably charge massive amounts more. The customization, the lower chance of breakage, the special windows, the environmental repurposing of the materials. Whereas a normal I don't know what trailers go for. Let's say 50 grand. You could probably be in the 100 grand realm.
Yeah, you nailed it. We've had approximately a 62% pricing increase since 2020, which is insane. So 100 grand trailers now 160. Our average ticket used to be in the mid 30s. Now we're in the mid 50s. So it's definitely become less affordable for a lot of folks out there, more of a luxury item. With the 3D, my projection is I think that same trailer that's in the mid 50s will probably come in around 75 to 80,000. That's what we're shooting for right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's face it. Horseback riding is not like an inexpensive hobby. It's an expensive hobby. And I think that's something I learned early on when building a business. It's provide solutions to rich people because they pay better.
Well, I used to have a farm equipment retail store where we sold anything and everything horse related. And I would tell customers as they would come in, I'm like, hey, if you want a horse, I'll buy the horse and give it to you. Just come buy all the stuff from me. And yeah, it's just super expensive horse ownership. And yeah.
Well, yeah, horses are, they're very special creatures. They're very special creatures,
Yeah, I often say, there's the emotional connection between the horse owner and the horse. We deal with a lot of ladies, probably 75, 80% female. And I often say that most of our clients love their horse probably more than they love their husbands or their spouse. And, for those reasons, they're really looking for the best experience for the horse in traveling from point A, point B. What's going to happen if I get in an accident? When loading and unloading, is this safe for me? How does my horse ride? There's just a lot of variables in that. And of course, with the IoT, not only will I be able to make claims of this trailer has less vibration than any other trailer. This trailer, all of these claims, we'll be able to back it up with the visual data. Because if I have a thermal imaging camera right on the horse as you're riding up and down the road, and our app knows the outside temperature and the conditions that you're in, it's pretty easy for that algorithm to figure out, hey, this is where we're going with it.
Love it. Great niche. Love the blue ocean strategy. And by the way, that idea that a lot of women horse owners love their horse more than their husband. Joanna, this is why we don't have a horse, just putting it out there. All right, cool. So I'm going to share my screen here. Listen, y'all, if you're listening to the podcast, I definitely encourage you to check this out on YouTube because this is going to blow your mind. We're going to go ahead here and look at this machine in action. So here I'm seeing this giant orange robotic arm. Brad, tell me what we're looking at here.
Yeah, so it's just a robotic arm with a print head. You can't see the harper that holds the pellet material. It's a little bit to the right in this video. And the arm is mounted to a rail. Looks like a train track. I mean, it is stout. It's a heavy piece of equipment. And in our final production, we'll have a longer train track, basically. So we'll be able to print much larger pieces of equipment with two of those robots on either side working together. The cool thing about this particular robot, it has the ability, you can put a weld head on it. If you want to do welding, you can do 3D printing. You can also do milling where you're basically grinding. So the robot will be able to print the structure, swing around, drop the 3D print head, pick up a milling head by itself, come back, and then start cutting out, all these little places that perhaps a hinge needs to mount or boring the holes where the screws need to go, things like that. And then it can spin right back around and switch and then go right back to printing. So I'm like, man, this is the neatest thing since sliced bread. I'm in love, like a kid in a candy store looking at this stuff.
It's amazing. Let's hit play. We got to see this thing in action because it is mind blowing, right? So here it's going, start to finish. And what I'm noticing here is there's really no human, like I could see people walking around, but there's no humans kind of like moving in and out. Like how much personal attention does this thing need?
This was the first print, and it was really a test run to prove the viability that the robot can print the necessary angles and all the things that we were looking for in the structure. We printed at probably 30% capacity on speed, so we went pretty slow on this one just to make sure that as problem areas occurred where the slice wasn't defined correctly in the software, that the guys could stop it, catch that, make a change in the software. So when you print it again the next time, you don't have that same mistake. But there was not really human interaction on this other than just monitoring closely the print itself and stopping to make those corrections in the software.
That's amazing. Just watching it kind of do its thing, all automated.
Yeah. It was all, every bit of it automated. The engineers at Loci, the guy told me, he said, printing a piece of furniture, for example, a custom chair, maybe the first one, I have to stand and watch it the entire time and make changes. The second one, not so much. The third one, I can be in the building and not have to just check on it every now and then. He says by the number 4, I just go home and go to bed and can continue to repeat those without any issues. So it is a little bit of a learning curve and just sort of perfecting each of those beads so the quality comes out and the aesthetics that we're looking for.
Well, and considering you're one of the first company to be doing this, you're going to have the learning curve. You're going to be ahead of the curve. While other people are figuring it out, you're going to be already done.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm meeting with the designers and with the engineering guys, I don't think they like me oftentimes because they'll come back and say, hey, we need to do it this way. The other way is not going to work, or we've got all these challenges to it. And I'm like, no, we're not going to do it that way. And here's why. So figure out the problem, figure out the solution for it. We need to make some tweaks to it. Let's just do it. But, keep the vision of the direction that we want to go.
I'm curious, are there any other industries that you're like, they should be doing 3D printing? Why are they not 3D printing in this industry? Have you thought about that?
We have, if we set this up and we're truly able to pull this off, I think we'll be probably in the top 10 in the country, perhaps even in the world, on the size of components that we're able to print. because you can imagine having two robots side by side in maybe a 50-foot long bay, and you could literally print something 10 feet wide, 10 feet tall, 50 feet long. And so it just opens up a tremendous amount of opportunities. Again, where I see the 3D print is sort of the one-off, the customization. If you're looking for mass production and just really cranking stuff out over and over and over, certainly the 3D would do it, but economies of scale, I think efficiency for customization, 3D is just definitely the way to go.
Super interesting. So I would want to be thinking about how can I deliver a custom final product to my end user, which allows me to avoid that economies of scale, because that's the problem with manufacturing in general is everything needs to be completely streamlined from front to back, same person, same material. So if I'm looking at implementing 3D printing, I want to be thinking about how can it, would it be possible? Would this be more valuable to my end user if they could customize it and actually feel like they're part of the creation process?
Yeah, absolutely. We specialize in custom build now, and it's quite challenging. Obviously, it's much easier to train someone to do the same repetitive task over and over and over. We are limited to the customization that we can do. For example, if you say, hey, I want a different roof, or I don't like the curve in the sidewalls, or I want to do this different body style. Heck no. There's just no way that we can do that, because then you have to get new molds, new dyes, new extrusions, just a lot of things. Whereas with 3D, you can meet with our engineering team and literally change the design and the shape of the trailer. I envision having various body styles. If you don't like this nose style, you want something more aerodynamic or more rounded, we can do that. So most of the planning is up front, and the execution is hit print and just roll the thing out. So whereas in conventional manufacturing, we would just have to try so many times to perfect it and get it right.
Absolutely amazing. We've been speaking with Brad Heath, trailblazing the horse trailer industry. 3D printing, man, you're at the tip of the spear of 3D printing. Love, love, love. You can find more Brad at doubledtrailers.com. Anywhere else we can find you, Brad?
Just Google 3D printing. We've picked a lot of interest all over the world with attempting to do this. If it can be done, I plan to do it. And so far, I've not had anyone to tell me no. I've had a lot of maybes and a lot of, that might be challenging, but so far, not anything that, we can't do this. So I think we'll be able to accomplish it. We just want to make sure that when we roll, that finished product out, that I can confidently put my blessing on it, my stamp on it. I can stand behind it and be able to back up, what we want to do. So I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
Super, super interesting. That's what after hours entrepreneurs are doing. We're not worried about what worked in the past. We're worried about what's going to work next. Brad,
That's
super
right.
Great conversation. Thanks for joining the show, brother.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.